Jack Whitehall is sitting across from me. Nice kid, British, very posh, very funny. He's wandering around the space before we sit down, eyeing the shelves. Hey, I say, walking in. How's it going? Oh, you casing the joint? He laughs that sort of nervous, polite British laugh. I said, yeah, just casing your Rob. Got a couple of items I'd like to see. I tell him, suspicious when someone's like walking around just checking what's fitted to. But honestly, there's a lot of cool stuff in here.
I was at the beach yesterday in Venice. You know Venice Boulevard here in LA, it's great.
You ride bikes on it, and there's just all kinds of crazy hippies, people playing guitar, selling crystals out of booths, vintage shops. And I got this vintage mask that is going to look absolutely perfect in here. 30 bucks. 30 bucks. There is nothing like finding something you could never find anywhere else that you love, and you know it's just not in department stores. Jack nods, looking around. I need a space like this in my home. I feel like I don't have a man cave. I live in London. London. Right, but you bought it as a sort of bachelor pad, right? I ask him. Yeah, he admits. And then I got married, and now I live there with my wife and child, and I'm losing. He pauses as the audience laughs. I lose all of my spaces. I gradually see things of mine sort of taken down from the walls and put away in cupboards. How long have you been married? I ask, because this sounds like a man who is already deep in the trenches. 2 months, 2 months, you're a newlywed. I bust out laughing. Wow. And they said it wouldn't last. You're celebrating your 2-month anniversary. So you're in the honeymoon phase. I'm in the honeymoon phase, he says, trying to put a brave spin on it. Oh, that's awesome. So she loves that I've come over here to the United States without her to loosely do some press for a show, but actually just go to World Cup soccer matches. Is that really what you're doing? I ask. Of course he's into soccer. He's British. Yeah, of course, he says. I took a gamble. I did a show on Fox and knew that they were hosting the World Cup, and I could get access to all of these games. And then I just needed England to get through to the knockout stages. And it's all worked out brilliant. I have to be honest with him. I don't get sports where, there's more scoring at a Star Trek convention. But Jack, being British, tries to defend it. I watch it, and I feel like, compared to a lot of American sports, it's really frenetic and high octane. Baseball, not a lot of scoring either. Yeah, no! I concede, but I guess it's just what you grow up with. But boy, you guys are serious about it. So serious, he agrees. He tells me this story about watching the American team get knocked out of the World Cup. It was a really weird experience being around American soccer fans. Knowing if it was in England and it was England being knocked out of the World Cup, people would be suicidal. There would be tears, there would be anger. And there was just a sort of resignation in this bar. And everyone was really quite gracious about it. They were shaking hands with a Belgian guy who was in there and wishing him the best for the rest of the tournament. I'm like, if that was in England, people would be chucking furniture through the window. But you guys get violent, I remind him. So violent. This leads us to the inevitable. You know, a lot of people in this country, we just had our big 250th, I say, referring to the 4th of July. Hope you're not upset about it. It's a little hard for us, but easier. Easier than it was? Jack asks, smirking. Really? After 250 years, you're still pissed about it? Still pissed about what could have been? He jokes. We'll take you back. You know what? 20 years ago, I might have said, all right, we'll go. Maybe not. I don't know about now, bro. I don't know. Your place seems kind of crazy. It really does. Seems like where we're going, not in a good way. But I do give the Brits credit where credit is due. You know, the job you did calling out the FIFA boss and the red card and the hysteria around that was fucking amazing. Jack's eyes light up. I'm so glad you brought this up, please. I know soccer the way a woman who's not interested in baseball knows baseball. Not at all. So I saw this in the headline, and I mean headline, big story. I just I don't know what red cards are. I don't know what FIFA is. Do me a solid and tell me this whole story from beginning to end and treat me like I'm a dummy chick. Jack laughs, perfectly happy to condescend to me. Okay. It was amazing because it was this situation where your player gets sent off in the game. He gets the red card, which means, I don't know what that means. I interrupt. He gets banned for the next game. He's your best player. For what? He commits a foul and he gets eliminated from the game? One foul for one foul? See, in basketball, You get 6. Jack nods, and this foul was it was dubious. On a slow motion replay, it looked kind of bad. But which guy is this? On what team? He's for the U.S. He's on the U.S. team, and he scored a couple of goals. He's your best performing player. So he scores a goal in the game, and then he gets sent off, and it means he's going to miss the next crucial knockout game. So for one foul, you get a 1-game suspension for foul play, I summarize. It sounds completely arbitrary, but then again, most sports rules do. It was kind of unfair, Jack says, and I think a lot of people watched it and they felt kind of sorry for this guy. He'd performed great in the tournament, and then he's going to miss this crucial game, and he gets the red card. But there's also a process whereby you can appeal a red card. It's quite rare, but on occasion, the red card will be taken away. So there's definitely a world in which, had Trump just called up FIFA and said, can we maybe have this red card removed and have this guy able to play in the next game? They could have got away with it. FIFA is the league, I ask. FIFA is the governing body. What does it stand for? The Federation of International Football Association. That's all right, I tell him. You call it football. I could have just said anything and you would have gone along with it. No. But that's right. Football, he says, humoring me. So there's a world in which it could have been accelerated. Jack continues. People could have looked at that and gone, oh yeah, that's legit. I mean, it's a little suspicious and a little unusual that it's happened that speedily, and it's happened for the U.S. whilst the tournament is in the U.S. But, okay, his red card's been taken away, and he gets to play in the crucial knockout game. They definitely could have got away with it, and it all would have just been, internet speculation. But Trump, he had to take credit for it. He couldn't help himself. That speech is amazing. I know exactly where this is going. It is the classic Trump move. He can't just let a win be a win in the dark. He has to spike the football. He has to be the hero. He has to brag. I was just thinking about the head of FIFA, Gianni Infantino, Jack says, painting the picture. He's clearly had the call from Trump, like, I'll do you a solid, and he's watching that speech, just head in his hands, going, don't tell them. It's just like everybody in the Trump administration. This is no different than the way he's handled the Iran war. Like, so many times they were having negotiations, and both sides wanted to end this war. And if he had just shut up, they were going to sign. And then he had to go and say, they surrendered like dogs. They surrendered like dogs. They're begging me for a deal. And they're like, oh, for fuck's sake, could you just shut up for 5 minutes? We'll get the signature on the paper. But no, like a dog. I'm dying laughing at this point because it's so true. The man's ego is his own worst enemy. And then, to make it worse, Jack tells me how Trump tried to explain the soccer foul itself. He starts the press conference. We're going, I know nothing about soccer. Football, we call it football. Oh, we got it. I know nothing about it, but I know that wasn't a foul. It was never a foul. It's like he's suddenly getting into the technicalities of the game. That's a really terrible Trump. I tell him, critiquing Jack's impression. I mean, almost anybody in America can do a bad Trump. But you English, you can't even do a bad Trump. You're too English, it just doesn't come out.
I can do James Mason, Jack offers. There you go.
So, when I do my James Mason at the Improv, fucking nothing. Kids go wild. Wild. It's like Michael Jackson in 1985, before the unpleasantness. Speaking of Michael Jackson, king of the bizarre, we start talking about the time he dangled that baby off the balcony. I feel like that should have been a bit of a, I pause, looking at Jack. Red card? Is that what you would call it? The red card. It's certainly a yellow at least, Jack agrees. We're sitting there, passing the time, the weed is making the rounds, and I point out the potted plants we have on set. We grow these here. Right over there. The woods. Jack looks surprised. Well, that's my store. Yes. But this, I've been to the woods. Oh, you have? Yeah, because I'm friends with Woody. Oh, of course. Woody Harrelson. That's right. I'm buddies with Woody. I randomly became friends with Woody because I met him at the Glastonbury Festival, and then we bonded. And then when I was here, he's like, you got to take your dad to the woods. Woody is a bonder, I tell Jack. He is a great guy, but he is a water bonder. He just bonds with everyone. There's always a new bromance in his life. I always kid him about it, but it's amazing the way he's just a magnet for pals. Whoever works with him wants to be his pal. I've been to parties at his house, and you look around the room, it's like, oh yeah, you did that movie together. Oh, Farrell, you did that movie together. Oh, Salma Hayek, you did that. Everybody who's ever worked with him wants to be his pal. I don't blame him. I do, too. And I never work with him except on a pot store, which loses money. No, seriously, we're going to try to fix it. But it's almost impossible to make a business work in California like that. I mean, just the state takes like 40% taxes. Are you kidding me? You know, when I bought drugs from a sleazy dealer, he didn't skim 40%. I was a dealer back in the day, and I did skim a little. Like, I would buy a pound, which is 16 ounces, and make 17 ounces out of it. Okay, that's not 40%. But the government is worse than the dealer. At least at my store, I know this is pure. No chemicals, nothing like that. Just the soot from the fires that fall down on everything here. I asked Jack if he would ever live here. Could he see being one of the British expats who come over and love the Southern California lifestyle? He ponders it. I love the Southern California lifestyle for like a little bit, but then I do kind of pine for home if I'm here for a period longer than 3 months. I get it. We all love our homeland. But man, we've certainly had a lot of British expats. I bring up James Mason again, the quintessential Englishman in Hollywood. Jack mentions he went to the same school as James Mason. Not at the same time, of course. But the school loves talking about James Mason. It's a public school, which in England means a private boarding school. It's probably the opposite of a public school. I tell Jack I can tell by his accent he didn't go to a public school in America. You'd be talking like a Scouser, like Mick Jagger. But the school also had Kate Middleton. So they love talking about her in all the newspapers. Kate Middleton, James Mason.
And Jack?
Jack is the school's dirty secret because he's a low-rent comedian, and maybe they don't want to brag about him. But you're so successful now.
I protest.
You're like the Beatles in '63. You're breaking the American market, right? Yeah. We got to get you on Ed Sullivan, I say, playing along. Then we'll take you down to Miami to meet Muhammad Ali. It's going to be a great photo op, and I'm telling you, I'm going to break you. Jack Mania will be sweeping the country, and I'm going to talk to your manager, Brian Epstein. This naturally pivots us to the Beatles. I love the Beatles. I've got Martin Lewis here next week. He's like the world's foremost authority on the Beatles. I can't wait to talk to somebody who knows more about it than I do. It is amazing how they endure. There's always something new with the Beatles, and it always sells like crazy. 4 movies on the way. Paul and Ringo are always doing something. It's 70 years since John and Paul met. 70 years! That's this month. July 1957. That really was the birth of the Beatles. And 70 is exactly how old I am. It's crazy. I tell Jack about the last time I was in LA. I saw Ringo and Paul having dinner together in a restaurant at the table next to me. It was amazing. Did I say anything? No. I felt like I shouldn't. They looked so deep in conversation. It was great, like old friends catching up. Jack says he shares a birthday with Ringo, but he also felt he couldn't go over and interrupt his conversation with Paul McCartney. We wonder what they were talking about. I mean, what do 2 surviving Beatles talk about over dinner? We talk about the song Get Back. I heard it on the radio yesterday, and I remember seeing in the Get Back movie they show Paul writing it. He's sitting there in the morning waiting for John, who was always late, and he's on his bass, which he sometimes played like a guitar, and he's writing it. You can see the very beginning of the song. It's quite interesting if you're a Beatle fan. If you're not, it's nothing. But the lyrics completely changed. At first, it was just a bunch of gobbledygook. I love the Beatles, but sometimes they were just like, this is a great song, I'm sorry. Lyrics, whatever. It's just hello, goodbye, hello. Just come on, people, you want everything. It's a great song, and Get Back was one of them. JoJo was a man who thought he was a loner, whatever. That's not how it started. It seemed to be about immigration, really. Get back to where you once belonged. That was an issue in the 60s, too. And it's not clear whether Paul was actually saying that or sort of making fun of people who were saying that, but it was the beginning of something, and that, my friends, is the perfect segue into what's happening in England today, because I read about it all the time, and it looks like a bit of what we see here in America, but even more pronounced. Immigration issues, Islamization issues. You guys have had 7 prime ministers in 10 years, right? You've got a new one on the way, and everyone's just sort of bracing themselves for Nigel Farage to be prime minister. He's the conservative guy, the leader of reform, and all the other parties are scrabbling around trying to work out the best way to fight that future election. What I read in the Free Press, which I feel is a down-the-middle place, very rare in this country, usually it's all the way left or all the way right, is that England just got way too woke on a bunch of crazy shit. The last thing I read was that they passed a milestone where the amount of money they're giving out in welfare is, for the first time, more than what they take in taxes. Like every third eligible to work man is not working. They're on disability. And some people really are, of course, but not that many. We have the same kind of issue here. A lot of young men are in crisis. You see it because they go out and shoot people, and that gets a conversation going. Why did this guy do it? And it's always kind of the same thing. They feel like they can't get laid. It's a lot of it. Islamic terrorists? Show me the one who was like, God, this guy never stopped having sex. And next thing we knew, he blew up the building. You never read about that guy. Never. He was a real Lothario all day long and then bomb. It's weird that all these women found him so attractive because some of his chat was just a real turnoff. It's never just sex, sex, and then bomb. And it's the same thing with the people here who shoot up the place. They partly forgot how to get laid because of the phone. I asked Jack how old he was when the smartphone came along. He's 38, so he remembers just before. He had a period of his life where he actually had to talk to a girl, proper old-school courtship at his not-so-public school, writing letters. He says he benefited from the internet age, but I press him on it. He was super shy. He couldn't walk up to a girl, even into his early 20s. If he could have texted, it would have been so much better. If he knew then what he knows now, could he have gotten them in 10 minutes? Yeah, it's all about talking. I mean, obviously, there are some things that are deal breakers for girls. If Quasimodo comes up to you, I can't blame a woman. It's not the Hunchback. But whatever it is, it became the reason I became a stand-up comedian. It was a way of talking to girls, but you could prepare it all. And there were other people and an audience. The actually going up and talking one-on-one was terrifying. But if they're all in darkness, and I've had weeks to think about it and really hone it, yeah, that kind of conversation is great. One way, with a paying audience, shrouded in darkness, Jack says he finds it amazing, in that same vein, how he can say things to millions of people on camera about his staff, whatever, that he just doesn't say in private. He doesn't call a meeting at the office and say, you're all brilliant, but he can say it on TV. Why is that? Real life, you get so tongue-tied trying to express emotion or sentimentality. I tell him I also never cry in real life. They've tried to make me sometimes on my show, but nope, never got me down. But in a movie, I just cried over Win a Date with Tad Hamilton. Any movie, even the silliest rom-com that puts the elements together in such a way that in the last reel the girl is saying that to the guy, it can get me. But in real life, you can't get me. Jack totally relates. He says he had such a fear that he would not cry at the birth of his daughter, mostly because of how readily he cries at stuff that feels so inappropriate. He can watch daytime television quiz shows. He's cried at Deal or No Deal in the UK. He remembers watching an episode where someone was trying to win a holiday and hadn't been away with their daughter for so long, and he's gushing. The emotions are clearly so close to the surface, and then in real-life moments where he should be flowing with tears, he's suddenly, a husk shows me a video of a Marine coming home and surprising his daughter in the classroom, and I'm gone. But if I was a Marine and I was reunited with my child, I don't think I would cry. Watching it, experiencing it with someone else, maybe. Jack thinks he might cry before they even said anything. Fuck, I've got to join the Marines, I joke. I think there would be a lot of tears in the field. But I don't mean to say I don't like kids. They do have their drawbacks. They make it harder to cheat. I kid. That's not what I meant to say at all. It must be the pot. I blame it on the pot. It's like truth serum. Woody warned me about it. He said when he did this show, he partook in the pot, and it was truth serum. 45 minutes of unairable material. We did one out in the woods recently, and it was ridiculous. But I tell Jack, if you had said to me when I was your age, at 70, you'll be laughing your ass off, having a great time, getting high, I'd say, okay, I'll take that. It's amazing. I never thought. My father certainly didn't have fun times like that when he was 70. It's one reason I avoided marriage and kids. I just like this kind of life. I don't know why I have to graduate. I'm not saying it's bad, obviously. It's a super impulse for so many people to have kids. I know guys who are terrible husbands, but great fathers. They take that seriously. They'll be real dogs sometimes, but the kid, no. They love being a dad. They say that. I get that it's a very big impulse that I do not have, but I get it. And certainly everybody can't be lying about it. It must be a massive conspiracy to try to convince me that every single person I ever talk to about it says, It's a love you can't imagine. It changed my life. My whole perspective is different. It's like doing heroin. I never did it, so I can't tell. But I get that it's great, and if I had to choose, I'd take the heroin. But that's just me. I asked Jack what his reaction is to having a kid. It's great. Better than heroin, he says, playing along. Wait, no, what changed my life? He pauses. Come on, you're not gonna gush like that about, I'm not gonna gush to you, no, Jack smiles. She's amazing, it's great. But smoking weed and having a laugh in the woods with Woody Harrelson in your 70s does also sound pretty great. So you made your bed. So I'm not here to toot my own horn, but speaking of this weird plane I exist on, Jack brings up the Mark Twain Award. I just got the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor, which is a huge honor. Woody was one of the speakers, so I was looking forward to the whole thing, except for one part of it. The show is on a Sunday night, and they kind of milk it. It's at the Kennedy Center, and there's this dinner the night before. I was like, okay, that's kind of anticlimactic, isn't it? Why are we doing this dinner and then this thing with the speakers the next night? Can we just have the main event and save all our muster for that? But no, you have to go to the dinner. So I was like, all right, fine. But here's the silver lining. Woody was there, and we went outside during the dinner, and I just had the best time. I was high, of course, and I was heckling the speakers. You know, the Kennedy Center is closing down for 2 years after this because they're going under renovation. But as we all walk through it, I'm looking around, and it is pristine. It's perfect. I think it's a scam. I don't think it needs any renovation at all. It looks fantastic to me. So we're sitting there, and the guy from Wells Fargo is up on stage. They were sponsoring the event. And it turns out Woody and I both have our money with Wells Fargo. He's up there talking about how Wells Fargo is sponsoring the renovation, blah, blah, blah. And I'm high, so I just yell out, not the guy who did the pool. It just turned out to be such a fun night. Jack asks me how it felt to hear all those people speaking about me. I mean, who wouldn't like that? You can't be counterintuitive in life about everything. You can a little bit, but I'm all for being intuitive. Good things are good. Bad things are bad. Lots of great people went out of their way for me. Everyone I asked came. Everybody. Except Jerry Seinfeld, who was on the road and couldn't make it. He made a beautiful video for me. Everybody else, Louis C.K., Jay Leno, Whitney Cummings, Woody, Ariana Huffington, Stephen A. Smith, John Mellencamp sang the song at the end. Everybody said yes immediately. That's what meant the most to me, that all these people would do that for me. So, yeah, good things are good. That's my opinion, and I don't care who knows it. But Jack makes an interesting observation. He says, you exist on a strange plane where it feels like you're post-cancellation without having ever been canceled. You're uncancelable. I laugh because that's a very generous way of putting it. It's like saying, hey, you're walking across 2 buildings on a high wire. It's a great place to exist, I tell him. I'm used to it. But if you're 70 and you've been on TV for 33 years, if it ended tomorrow, look, I still won. And it could end. When people say you're beyond cancel, please, it's not hard to get canceled still. There really isn't a finish line. The truth is, I never really did anything that should have gotten me canceled. And lots of people have been wonderful in standing by me because they know me or they know the work. What you have to do is always be clawing back against the emo youth of Wookville who live to feel morally superior to everybody, especially older people. I asked Jack if he's ever gotten in trouble for saying something, if people have really come after him. He has. He remembers being in the eye of the storm relatively early in his career, thinking it was the end. He was on the front page of the newspapers, and they were trying to whip up a real frenzy. And it was over such a stupid joke, an obscene joke, but a stupid one. It was a joke on a TV show about the late Queen. It was during the Queen's Jubilee, the pageant down the Thames, celebrating her 50 years in office. She was an old lady at the time. And there was a whole thing in the press about how she'd stood for the whole pageant, and people were saying she shouldn't have to stand the whole time, she should sit down. A couple of days later, Prince Philip went to the hospital with a urinary infection. So Jack puts 2 and 2 together on his show. It was her anniversary. He ended up with a urinary infection, and she didn't want to sit down, which leads me to believe they celebrated in the way a lot of couples celebrate an anniversary. It got a bit of a groan from the studio audience, but then it morphed into this massive national scandal that he had made a joke about the monarch enjoying sex. I tell Jack, see, that's so ridiculous. Because at least when I got in trouble for things I've said, like saying the 9/11 terrorists weren't cowards, it was because it was something important. It was an important point, whether you agree or don't agree. Your shit was just like the way they lose their shit about the Queen. Who gives a fuck? It's fucking crazy. It is crazy, he agrees. Even rational British people. He mentions Piers Morgan, who can say some dumb things and go off the reservation, but is generally a guy you can have a conversation with. Jack likes Piers. Piers has said stupid things about him, but whatever, people have bad days, he's on his period. But Sharon Osbourne, who Jack likes a lot, rational people. You start on the Queen, and suddenly it's not funny anymore. They're like, don't call her an old bag. And you're like, are you fucking with me? They really don't like it. You can't be punching up more than the Queen. But there's a Middle England hysteria that takes over. It was in the Daily Mail, there were Ofcom complaints, and the BBC was involved, which always makes it a bigger story. It had happened right after the Russell Brand and Jonathan Ross prank call scandal, so the media beast was hungry. It was a storm in a teacup, but it fed the beast. It became column inches, online discourse, the worst thing ever. And then suddenly it goes away as if it never existed. I totally relate. I tell Jack, it's like COVID. Like, it's the worst thing ever. Worst thing ever. And then suddenly, like, what? No, just go back. Like, go back. I never thought it was the worst thing ever, but we all had to pretend. We have to get everybody involved, go crazy. And then Britney Spears gets a new boyfriend, and it's on to the next thing. I remember talking to a friend on the phone during one of my own scandals, and he said, you just need to pray that someone dies this week. And they will. Something always happens. And then the fucking sheep are suddenly driven to a new pasture. That's what it is. You can drive the sheep to a new pasture so easily. They're sheep, Jack. They're fucking sheep. It's just who can we put in the stocks for 24 to 48 hours before we move to the next one. Jack has another story, a near miss. He had a late night show in the UK for a couple of seasons, and one of the producers from the network was obsessed with doing shock comedy. He wanted really lame, Route 1 shock stuff. Jack remembers the notes this guy used to give. He genuinely, at one point, said, I want a baby dressed as Hitler. We both lose it. Like what? Jack says. He was like, I just think that's funny, a baby dressed as Hitler. And we did it, because no one could stand up to him. Just a mustache. You put a mustache on a baby. A baby! I have to admit, I kind of love it. I've never kind of love it. Did you put a hat on him? The hair, a uniform with the Iron Cross? Yeah, Jack laughs, and Hugo Boss did the uniform. But the problem is, once you say yes to baby Hitler, it really emboldens the guy. Opens the floodgates to a deluge of terrible ideas, which led to a sketch about Michael Jackson. It wasn't even in the news cycle at the time, but the producer just wanted a Michael Jackson pedophile visual gag at the end of the monologue, so they did it. Jack is watching it go out, feeling like he has no spine, like he's just a puppet for this idiotic man doing his stupid ideas. And then on the news that very night, they announced that Michael Jackson has died. It's the night he's died, and the show goes out at 11 p.m. Jack is panicking. Fuck, we have to do something about this. He can't even remember the exact joke, but it was a guy dressed as Michael Jackson with a prop. There were a lot of babies involved. It was a prop baby, and it was a load of jokes about him being a predator. On the night the man dies, Jack calls the producer, who then has to call the guy from the network to literally ring in and try to pull the show. Jack is watching minute by minute, praying they get through in time. It's 11 Life at night, and the network head has to call someone at the Channel 4 switchboard, saying, it's so-and-so. I'm the head of the network. You need to pull this show. Because the whole world is on every news network showing candlelit vigils and tears, and here's this show with a horrendous pedophile sketch. They pull the whole show. Jack is watching it. They play the opening credits, and then suddenly it goes to black with a screen saying, unfortunately, there's been a technical difficulty. Just a holding card, and then they put something else on. Within minutes, he got it pulled. Jack is sitting there, heart pounding, thinking he's going to be absolutely pilloried. I tell him, in retrospect, it doesn't look like you were wrong. And I mean it. I'm not wrong about Jackson. I resisted doing Michael Jackson little boy jokes for a long time when I did not know it was true. Then they did the HBO documentary, and those two kids came forward with testimony that was just so obviously true. Even Oprah came out and did a special about it. I wasn't surprised, but I'll tell you what I was. I was jealous. There were Always so many great Michael Jackson jokes. And I wasn't availing myself of them. Like, why does Michael Jackson shop at Kmart? Because boys' pants are half off. Come on! That is a great line. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what kind of integrity I have, Jack. I was not availing myself to this gold. You gotta love jokes. And speaking of jokes, you go to the comedy clubs when something like that happens, and you see some comedians up on stage telling jokes hours after a beloved figure has passed away. They say the sick jokes originate in prison. I don't know if that's a canard or what, but there's always a sick joke very quickly. I asked Jack if he remembers the comedian Gilbert Gottfried. Hilarious. He was the Aflac Duck, the insurance company with the duck logo. I still don't understand insurance companies. You have a lizard, you have a duck. I don't know why this makes people buy insurance. Look, your agent is a salamander. Okay, well, that's what I want when my house burns down. But anyway, Gilbert was the Aflac Duck, and he lost that gig because of the tsunami. You remember the 2004 tsunami? Horrible tragedy. And Gilbert got on Twitter and posted like 50 jokes about it, killing hundreds of thousands of people, just showing all of his working. That was just Gilbert. He was so childlike and naive, which was the engine behind the genius of his comedy. But the flip side of that was he just didn't think there was going to be blowback to joking about the tsunami that very night. Jack says he feels incredibly thankful that he started stand-up in an era before camera phones and Twitter. A lot of his inspirations were much coarser comedians, and he tried shock comedy, had less of a filter. At his early gigs, when he was a less skilled comedian, he would just say anything to elicit a reaction. He is so fucking thankful that isn't out there on the internet forever, because he said some stuff on stage in his early 20s that would ruin him now. I tell him, I think you should go back to that. I do. I mean, I would like to see that because you're a funny, engaging guy. I think you can get away with it. Oh my God. You know, that's my kind of comedy. It reminds me of the old line. I think it was W.C. Fields, though maybe it's apocryphal. He said the difference between a comedian and a civilian is this. To make a civilian laugh, all you have to do is dress up like an old lady and walk down the street and fall down a manhole. But to make a comedian laugh, it has to really be an old lady, pushing an old lady down there. You know, not for everybody. But that's what I strive for. Jack says having a family changes things. You have to think about how you're going to feed your kids if you fuck up on stage. I remind him he just got married. He doesn't have that excuse yet, but he will. But there is something to holding on to the fact that the thing that will probably bring you down is already out there. It allows you to feel slightly more relaxed. I genuinely feel like cancel culture, the worst of it is over, but it will always be with us. You can always get canceled. I think we've passed the peak, but the machinery is still there. I saw the other day in the paper, it might have been the Daily Mail. You read the Daily Mail, right? It's English, people love it here. Jack's wife is on that website 10 hours a day. Anyway, I read that Love Island, and Jack gets very excited when I bring this up. Just had 2 people kicked off the show. Not for historic tweets, but for singing along with a rap song. I don't think we need to go into the details of what word they sang, but just singing along. How about just a warning? Another guy lost his job, a TV chef, for singing along. I remember when Gwyneth Paltrow got in trouble for singing a song about the capital of France. I'll leave it that vague. That's how delicate this subject is. We can't even say the capital of France. Just say the capital of France. It's not even France. Let's just say a country in Central Europe between Germany and Spain. It could be Belgium. But yeah, there definitely has to be a warning system. Or just stop pretending you're actually making the world better because you caught a contestant on Love Fucking Show. The Love Fucking Show. That's a spin-off. But let's get back to the Love Fucking Show. I tell Jack that my show, my guilty pleasure, was always Temptation Island. You ever see that? It was on Way at the beginning of the century, and then they rebooted it. I watched it for a while, I really did. But I didn't watch the last season. You know why? Because the people weren't cute. I'm sorry. But if you're not going to have cute people, please. I'm not watching this for the context. I'm not tuning in for the character development. You're on an island in a bikini. Look the part. Jack admits he watches Love Island by proxy because his wife is a fan. And he has a very specific, very cynical take on it, which of course I love. He says he likes it for a little bit when they're all betraying each other and cheating, and you're seeing them emotionally dissolve. He likes the schadenfreude of it. Watching young, hot, happy people being put through the ringer, watching them be miserable, he thinks that's good TV. But then, as soon as they become happy and in love and coupled up, and it becomes a contest of which young, hot, happy couple is the happiest. There's no rub. It's boring. I ask him, but don't they usually go to shit after that? I mean, do they actually ever get married? Jack thinks they do. He says the show ends at them at their happiest, all coupled up and in love, a happy ending. But Jack has a brilliant pitch for a spinoff. He says, I think they need to do one with married couples, where it starts with them all married, and then it's like a summer of them just falling apart. Now that is reality TV I would watch. That is the real human condition right there. But I tell him the show they should do, and I mentioned this before, I'm hoping someone in the ether will hear it and make it happen, is something we have here called The Golden Bachelor. Had he heard of it? He'd heard of The Bachelor, but not The Golden Bachelor. Oh, it was huge here. Like they couldn't stop talking about it. And that's a guy who's like 70. I think he was 72. But wait, of course, because this is America and things have to be appropriate. It was a bunch of ladies who were all age appropriate. They were all in their late 60s and 70s. And I'm sorry, but that's not interesting. No offense to the Golden Girls, but no. Me as the Golden Bachelor with the age that I find appropriate? That's a show! That's a show, and it would be a lot of fun. And I'll tell you right now, I would promise to be completely chaste. No kissing, no sex. None of that stuff they do on the regular show. I just want to talk to people. I just think it'll be really fun and funny and instructive and also a blow against ageism because, you know, love is where you find it. I mean, let's be honest about the double standard. It's always okay when Madonna is going out with a 24-year-old. It's always okay when Kate Beckinsale does it. It's always okay that Cher is 80 and marrying a guy half her age. That's always okay. People celebrate that. You go, girl! But somehow in the other way, it's looked at as creepy. It's like, wait a minute, if Cher can do it, why can't I? Why is it an empowerment moment for them and a policing moment for me? It makes no sense. And that really is the overriding theme of everything we've talked about tonight. The sheep, the cancel culture, the Wokeville youth, the Queen, the FIFA red cards, the Love Island singers. It's all the same phenomenon. It's people pretending to be offended by the natural order of things. It's people trying to enforce arbitrary rules that make no logical sense just so they can feel a little spike of moral superiority. Whether it's a British subject clutching their pearls over a joke about the Queen's anniversary, or a network executive trying to pull a Michael Jackson sketch out of the ether, or some producer demanding a baby dressed as Hitler just to shock people, or a bunch of scolds trying to ruin a TV chef for singing along to a song on the radio. It's all the same hysterical factory. It's all noise. And then, just like that, the sheep get driven to a new pasture, and everybody forgets what they were so mad about yesterday. You have to just keep walking across that high wire. You can't let the emo youth or the Daily Mail or the producers of the world dictate what's funny or what's true. You got to say the thing, take the heat, and trust that the audience, the real, breathing, thinking audience, knows the difference between a joke and a crisis. You have to trust that good things are good, bad things are bad, and a joke about boys' pants being half off at Kmart is just a damn good joke. So, Jack, congratulations on the new baby, the new wife, and breaking America. Enjoy the honeymoon phase before they start putting your vintage masks in the cupboard. And to the rest of you, get your Club Random hoodies, snuggle away your sorrows, and I'll see you in the woods.